As-salam. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. As everybody knows, Qur'an is the main source of Islam and Islamic knowledge. So everything that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is just mentioning to us is very important in the Holy Book. This is on one side, no doubt about it. On the other side is one of the Islamic beliefs, specifically in terms of Shia, that Muslims believe, the Shia I mean, that Wilayah and the Imamah of the progeny of Prophet Muhammad are very important, and it's a basis, it's infrastructure. Then if Qur'an is the main source and the Wilayah and the Imamah of the progeny of Prophet Muhammad are very important, specifically the Wilayah and the Imamah of Amir al-Mu'minin Imam Ali alayhi salam, then this is a question comes into our mind, that why this important point is not explicitly mentioned in the Qur'an. Some people believe it's not mentioned while it has to be mentioned. What do we do then? Are there any answers for this question? Are there any logical and rational responses that does make sense, referring to the Qur'an, talking about the Wilayah and the Imamah, specifically of Amir al-Mu'minin Imam Ali alayhi salam, or not? In this film and recording, we're going to talk about this reality and important point in some few minutes, inshallah. Ten reasons for not specifying the name of Ali in the Qur'an. Then the question was, if the issue of the caliphate of Ali is very important, then why did God not mention his name explicitly in the Qur'an? There's an important point here. And note, this question and its answers are for those who believe in not mentioning the name of Ali explicitly in the Holy Qur'an. But if you believe that some people believe in mentioning the name of Ali in the Qur'an for narrative, interpretive, and literary reasons, this question is eliminated. What are the answers then? Number one, it is basically not necessary to specify, because the main policy of God in the Qur'an is to state the criteria and not the examples. Reason deals with criteria and standards. And in principle, examples cannot guide man to a complete truth. If you look at the case, we must extract the basis and criterion from it. For example, if we say that a book is good, the intellect immediately asks why it is good. And this is the criterion and basis that the intellect receives from among the many instances of their commonalities. Qur'an is full of ayahs and propositions in tribute and about Ali merely, such as the verses of Mubahala, Ali Imran, verse 65, the verse of Laylatul Mabit, Baqarah 207, the verse of completion of religion or ikmal, the verse of Wilayah, Ma'idah 55, the verse of purification or tathir, Ahzab, verse 33. Number two, not explicitly, but an implicit mentioning. It is something more than the implicit mentioning, such as the verses mentioned in the previous answer, which are examples of the manifestation of Imam Ali, and in principle, they were revealed for him and about him. Number three, expressing the example is suitable for those people who are with poor perception. There are people that, other than stating clear criteria, ask the speaker to state the exact case. It is said, know the truth, you know the people. Not to know the people, to know the truth. This is basically meaningless, because knowing something makes sense by knowing its characteristics and standards. Then truth means the criteria. Note, This is, of course, does not mean that God has always avoided stating the example in the Qur'an, but in many cases has also mentioned the examples. However, the main approach of the Qur'an in expressing of the criteria and sub-approach is the expression of the examples in terms of further explanation. For this reason, basically some belief for narrative and interpretive and literary reasons that in some verses the name of Imam Ali alayhi salam is mentioned in the Qur'an, in addition to the fact that his name has been mentioned in many times in the prophetic hadith, also implicitly in the Qur'an. Number 4, clarification and mentioning the example is in many cases far from rhetoric and wisdom. When there are many reasons in verses of the Qur'an, narration, prophetic hadith, narrations of the progeny of Prophet Muhammad, and knowing Ali from the heart of his words, Nahj al-Balagha, for example, for the correction as of something, is it not far from rhetoric and wisdom that the wise speaker, which is God, also specifies the name? Number 5, not specifying something does not necessarily mean that it is insignificant. There is no explanation in the Qur'an about some very important issues such as the torment in the grave. Isn't it important? Few mentioning of the name of Prophet Muhammad, only 4 times in the Qur'an, while Prophet Isa, Prophet Musa are mentioned more than 40 times. Even the name of Maryam, salamullah alayha, in one complete surah. Number 6, if the name of Ali was specified, the question still remains unanswered. Why are the names of Hassan, Hussein, and the rest of the Imams not mentioned in the Qur'an? Number 7, clarification brings responsibility. If after mentioning the name of Ali in the Qur'an and people were a little lazy in believing in him, the punishment would have been inevitable and severe. Just as if you seek heavenly food or see the angels and see things from the unseen world, your responsibility will be much heavier. See verses 114 and 115 of Surah Mubarakah Ma'idah. Number 8, clarification does not necessarily mean faith. Is the name of the Prophet not mentioned in the Qur'an? And many rules of Islam. So why many do not believe and do not act based on these explicitly mentioned facts? Reason number 9. The names of upcoming and later prophets were not mentioned in previous books other than the Qur'an. Are the names of the prophets as the messengers of God specified in the previous divinely books? The names of the prophets are only in form of signs or in forms of a criteria mentioned, connotatively mentioning actually. And the 10th, the last reason, specifying the names of the prophets is about the past, not the future. Mentioning the names of historical figures in the Qur'an is a historical discussion so that one extracts a social, ethical, or political standard out of that. I hope this video was very fruitful for all of you. Let us know your comments. Thanks for watching. And wait for the very hot topic videos in a near future, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum.
وقتی پر زد دیدی که ابرو کبوده میسوختی و میگفتی یار جوونم زهرا جان خیلی برات